how do you start to work with people to reestablish that connection to nature, that getting outside in the sunlight when most of us live within the confines of a 9 to 5 office job?
I mean, at the most basic level, I just like to make them aware of the fact that a lot of their health problems stem from the fact that they are stuck inside. I
Yeah.
think the latest stat that I came across was that most people, I think in the United States, it might even be worldwide, but most people spend like 93% of their time indoors. So when you consider that we are a species that evolved to be outside, but we're only spending 7% of our time outside nowadays, I mean, from my perspective, it makes complete sense why we're dealing with so much dysfunction from the perspective of chronic disease. And so just getting that light bulb to flip on, so to speak, does a lot of the work. And then from that point, it's really just making sure that we do some very basic things around the routine in order to get people outside more, so that then they have a real direct experience of what it's like to gain a lot of these health benefits associated with circadian biology. So it's, on one hand, it's the awareness. On the other hand, it's you have to have some skin in the game to understand the power of this work.
Yeah. And I think by just the experience alone, listen, I don't think there's a person out there that would say, I went on vacation, I was outdoors more, and I came back feeling worse, right? It doesn't happen. You feel better, you feel relaxed, you feel, and a lot of that has to do not just with the break in the routine and constantly, striving to do more within your day at the confines of a computer. It's literally the biochemical reactions that are happening while you're outside in the sun. And I want to go into that more because I don't think people truly appreciate how much life comes from the sun. I mean, you may understand when you look outside, you're a plant, and people will make that argument, well, I'm not a plant. I don't need photosynthesis and all this. But I mean, going from vitamin D down, can you just kind of tap into what are those benefits of sunlight exposure that so many are missing?
I mean, the benefits are extensive. It touches absolutely everything, especially when you study circadian mechanisms, the fact that we are circadian creatures. Every aspect of our body is designed to get natural light and work with the full light spectrum from the sun. So you can talk about the leptin melanocortin pathway. You can talk about the pro-opio melanocortin gene within every human being. You could talk about the fact that our cells actually emit extremely low frequency VUV light. That was proven by Fritz Popp, a biophysicist back in the day. You could talk about chromophores, how basically we are a solar panel for the sun. And people don't perceive it from that perspective because they look at a plant and they think about photosynthesis as a totally different thing. But I'm here to show people that really human photometabolism is extremely powerful. And there's a lot more evidence on the side favoring its existence as opposed to not. But in terms of benefits, I mean, sleep, energy, digestion, mood, everything, absolutely everything is tied to the circadian mechanism.
Let's talk a little bit about Fritz Popp because he's come up in different discussions, different lectures I've seen that are trying to define a new paradigm to medicine and to healing. And his name comes up with others like Lakovsky and other great minds of the time. But can you go into, for those that don't know Fritz Popp and kind of the emittance of light within cells, what his discoveries were and why they're important?
Well, believe it or not, I was actually going to get into Fritz Popp as a form of study shortly before this, but I never really got into it too deep. I know that it's proven without a shadow of a doubt that he came to a biophysics perspective that, the human body does emit light. I mean, every cell, when it goes through its reactions, emits a very low frequency type of UV light. And so when we think about the implications of that from a thermodynamic perspective, from a biophysics perspective, then this centralized idea that the sun is inherently bad for your skin or for human health makes no sense. And so like the deeper level of what I like to tackle is really the centralized notions around sunlight, around tanning, melanin. There are certain things that I find very damaging to people's health, at least with the messaging out there. And I think a large part of my work is really just dispelling a lot of those myths. But I mean, when you go into the late 1800s, early 1900s, you'll find these certain figures like Fritz Popp, like Albert St. Georgi, a lot of these key figures that have done some incredible science that has been pushed to the side because of certain narratives and certain incentive structures.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of the people I've heard speak, including my father, who brings up a lot of these names and even, Einstein's contribution in quantum physics and so many there that have done so much over 100 years ago now, right? But it seems that even Newtonian principles weren't really applied to health and medicine until the 1900s or so, even 1800. It took a few hundred years for us to kind of get there and start to apply it. So I'm hoping things speed up and we don't have to wait another like 200 or so years before we realize we are energy, we are light, vibrate. All of this is at our core who we are. And if we don't apply that to medicine, we're missing such a big part of everything. And so I think it's vital to understand that, but understand that maybe in its own experience that we have as humans, and again, connecting with nature, which again utilizes light for so much of life